Imagine devoting 15 years of your life to a sacred, holy order. I mean, literally giving up your childhood, your identity, absolutely everything.
Right, just completely surrendering yourself to a cause.
Exactly. Only to discover that everything you've been taught to protect is actually a lie.
That is such a brutal realization.
It really is. And what if the ultimate weapon against evil isn't a magical sword or a glowing shield or even a sacred vow?
Oh, this is the terrifying part.
Yeah. What if the most effective way to control a powerful soldier is an undiagnosed mental illness? Imagine a world where a supposedly holy order deliberately weaponizes a young woman's neurodivergence to keep her in line.
That completely changes the landscape of a fantasy narrative.
Yeah,
Because you move away from the standard external battle of light versus dark.
right. The classic good guys versus bad guys trope.
Yeah, and instead you step into a terrifying internal psychological thriller.
Mhm.
The battlefield isn't a kingdom at all. The battlefield is the protagonist's own mind.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are immersing ourselves in the fantasy novel Lightguard. It's book one of the Daughter of Sun duology by Hayley Turner.
It is such a phenomenal read.
It really is. We've got a rich world of magic, we've got royal intrigue, we've got violent political coups. But the mission today is to unpack how this story handles a profoundly personal representation of mental health.
And that representation really drives the entire narrative forward.
It does. We're going to take you on a journey from the pristine halls of a mountain monastery to the dark, unknown edges of a magical boundary. We want to extract the most fascinating aha moments along the way.
To understand the stakes of that psychological warfare, you first have to really understand the physical world Turner built.
Right, the nation of Ashera.
Exactly. Ashera is entirely isolated. It is surrounded by this massive magical force field known as the boundary.
Which sounds safe, but also incredibly claustrophobic.
Oh, absolutely. The citizens are taught that this boundary is fueled by the magic of their goddess, Hayley, and they believe it's the only thing keeping them safe from the Shadowlands.
Right, because out there in the dark are the Night Renders.
Yeah, these terrifying wielders of dark magic who supposedly just want to destroy them.
And the enforcers of this peace, the ones holding up that boundary, are the Lightguards. They are your classic, pristine, holy paladins.
They wear white, they follow strict rules, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. And our protagonist, Corinne Anastos, is a top-tier trainee in this order. She wields this brilliant, blinding, golden light magic.
She's basically the perfect soldier.
She is. She has spent 15 years in a rigid mountain monastery, sacrificing everything to become flawless, and she just passed her final test.
She's expecting a glorious assignment, right? Defending the realm at the boundary.
Yep. She is standing there, ready for glory, and the high priestess, Mother Krita, just pulls a rug out from under her.
Oh, it's such a gut punch. Corinne is handed what she considers the ultimate insult.
Yeah, instead of a heroic post guarding the edge of the world, she gets sent to the capital city, Vatanos.
And her specific assignment is to be the personal royal bodyguard to Prince Aryel.
Which to her is just a massive demotion.
Right. It's an exile into this den of political corruption and excess.
It's basically like training your entire life for the Olympics, winning the gold medal, and then being told your mission is to go babysit a frat boy.
That is the perfect analogy. And for Corinne, the reaction is sheer panic.
Because she's hiding a massive secret, isn't she?
She is. She didn't arrive at the monastery as an infant like all the other trainees. She came when she was 10, after surviving a horrific tragedy.
Right. Her father was a Lightguard who defected.
Exactly. He lost control of his magic. His pure golden light corrupted into destructive fire, and he became a flame wielder.
And in that violent descent, he actually killed Corinne's mother.
Yeah. And Corinne barely survived the fire herself. The mechanics of the magic system are vital here.
Oh, the way light and fire are connected.
Yes. In this world, light and fire are essentially the same magical energy. They are just in different states of control and intent.
Right. The Lightguards teach that pure light is holy. It illuminates, it shields, it follows the rules.
While fire consumes, it is fueled by passion, anger, and unchecked emotion. And because of her bloodline, Corinne is terrified that she carries that same destructive potential inside her.
So her perfectionism isn't just like a type A personality trait.
No, not at all. It is a desperate survival mechanism.
She works twice as hard as everyone else, adhering to every single rule, just to prove to herself that she is nothing like her murderous father.
She genuinely believes that if she remains the perfect, devout soldier, the darkness won't consume her.
Which makes her arrival in Vatanos so stressful for her. She brings all that rigid indoctrination with her.
And she expects to find a spoiled, irreverent prince, she assumes Aryel represents everything the Lightguards stand against.
Because, I mean, he drinks heavily, he's relentlessly sarcastic, he actively mocks her stoic demeanor.
But leaving the isolated monastery is actually what starts cracking her rigid worldview.
Right, because stepping out of that echo chamber forces her to actually observe the people she's been taught to judge.
She starts noticing the cracks in Aryel's armor. The sarcasm and the alcohol aren't born from arrogance.
They are his coping mechanisms.
Exactly. He is hiding immense trauma. There is this deeply unsettling scene where Corinne discovers the reality of Aryel's relationship with his father, King Theo.
Oh, that scene is brutal.
It really is. The king strikes Aryel across the face, but he, quote-unquote, forgets to take off his heavy, ornate rings before doing it.
It's casual, calculated physical abuse. The wings literally tear Aryel's face open.
And the most heartbreaking part is that Aryel just takes it. It's routine for him.
That moment is such a catalyst for Corinne. The Lightguards teach that magic is a blunt instrument of the goddess, right?
Yeah, used for smiting enemies or maintaining the boundary.
Mm.
It is rigorous and punishing.
But when Corinne sees Aryel bleeding, her instinct isn't rigid or punishing at all.
No, she instinctively uses her golden light to gently heal the lacerations on his face.
It's an incredibly intimate use of her power. And Aryel isn't the only one who starts dismantling her prejudices. She accidentally builds this wonderful found family in the castle.
I love her new friends. First, there's Denai, a non-binary guard who uses humor to disarm Corinne's stoicism.
Denai basically just decides, completely against Corinne's will, that they're going to be best friends.
Which is exactly what Corinne needed. Denai provides a model of loyalty that isn't based on religious obedience, but on genuine human connection.
Right, and then you have Nick, the royal librarian. He recognizes that beneath all that armor, Corinne has a mind that craves stimulation.
I love the detail with Nick. He loans her a pirate novel called The Sea of Starlight.
Yes! They totally geek out over it together. It's such a small, humanizing detail. It shows she isn't just a weapon. She's a young woman who loves stories and yearns for adventure.
And completing the group is Ileana, a fierce city guard whose entire motivation is protecting her family.
Which provides another really stark contrast to the monastery. Like when Ileana's younger brother, Asen, suffers a severe accident.
Right. He gets a massive head injury and a compound leg fracture. And Corinne just steps in.
She exhausts herself. She drains her magical reserves to the point where she nearly blacks out just to painstakingly knit his bones and heal his brain.
She gives everything she has, purely out of empathy.
Now, contrast that profound act of healing in the secular city with what happens back at the quote-unquote holy monastery.
This part is so disturbing.
We learn that when Corinne made a minor infraction in her youth, High Priestess Mother Creta didn't just reprimand her.
No, she punished Corinne by pressing a hand burning with holy fire onto Corinne's arm, searing a permanent handprint into her flesh.
The institution disguises blatant physical abuse as divine discipline. They literally frame violence as an act of purification.
Which is horrifying.
Okay, but this brings up a critical question. I have to push back a little here.
Sure, go ahead.
We've all seen the corrupt church trope in fantasy. It's practically a requirement for the genre at this point.
Oh, definitely.
Right. If you have a group of people wearing pristine white robes lecturing everyone on purity, they are usually hiding skeletons in the crypt. So, knowing how smart Corinne is and actively experiencing them burning handprints into people, why didn't her survival instinct kick in? Why didn't she just run? How could she not see they were the villains?
Yeah, that is a very fair question. But you're analyzing her choices through a neurotypical lens.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
If you are operating with a healthy brain, yes, the physical burn is the ultimate red flag. You run. But for Corinne, the fear of her own mind is vastly more terrifying than any physical burn.
I see.
The author, Hayley Turner, explicitly outlines in the book's postscript that Corinne is living with severe, undiagnosed obsessive-compulsive disorder.
And we should clarify, this isn't the stereotypical surface-level media portrayal of OCD. She isn't just arranging her desk or washing her hands.
Right. This is an entirely internal battlefield of intrusive thoughts and mental compulsions, drawn directly from the author's own lived experience, by the way.
Think of it less like a behavioral quirk and more like having an autoimmune disease of the mind.
Oh, that's a great way to describe it.
Yeah, an autoimmune disease happens when your body misidentifies its own healthy tissue as a deadly threat and attacks it. Corinne's brain misidentifies completely healthy, normal human emotions, like empathy, curiosity, or romantic love, as a deadly virus.
Exactly. When she feels these things, her brain sends overwhelming panic attacks to quote-unquote attack those feelings until she suppresses them.
Whenever she feels she has strayed, like when she uses her magic to subtly heal her own burn scar, or later when she shares a genuinely tender kiss with Prince Aryel.
This hostile, vicious voice erupts in her head. It doesn't just say she made a mistake.
Right. It tells her she is a fraud. It screams that she is a heretic, that she is wicked, and that she is exactly on the path to becoming her murderous father.
The thoughts are graphic, relentless, and debilitating. They literally bring her to her knees.
And to combat that crushing anxiety, she relies on a mental compulsion, right?
Yes. She forces her brain to repeat a specific phrase from the Lightguard doctrine. Stay the course. Be the light.
And she has to do it a specific number of times.
Exactly. She has to think it over and over, sometimes 4 times, sometimes 9 times, until the spike of panic finally subsides.
It's like having a malicious, unstoppable spam filter installed directly in your brain. Except instead of blocking junk mail, it blocks your self-worth and constantly flags your basic human desires as fatal errors.
I love that analogy. So we aren't just looking at a corrupt political organization. We're looking at an institution that acts as a toxic accelerant for her neurodivergence.
Precisely. High control groups thrive by outsourcing a person's locus of control. The Lightguards demand absolute, unquestioning devotion. They forbid romantic attachments. They enforce strict purity.
To a neurotypical person, that's oppressive. But to someone with Corinne's specific form of OCD, it feels like a cure.
Wow, yeah. Every time her brain chemistry misfires and tells her she is inherently bad, the Lightguard doctrine is right there to agree with her.
It validates her deepest fears and then offers submission as the only way to stay safe. They didn't heal her anxiety, they weaponized it. They hijacked it into devout obedience.
That reframes her entire character arc. When she starts pulling away from the Lightguards, when she starts allowing herself to care about Aryel, Denai, and Nick, she isn't just breaking monastery rules.
No, she is actively fighting her own brain's survival mechanism. She has to sit with the agonizing panic of her intrusive thoughts and choose to believe they are lying to her.
And that internal rebellion doesn't happen in a vacuum. Her internal breaking point perfectly aligns with the external breaking point of the nation.
Right, because the moment she stops playing the perfect, compliant soldier, she finally opens her eyes to the broader reality. She realizes the Lightguards aren't just enforcing personal piety.
They are orchestrating a hostile political takeover.
Yes, the burning castle sequence.
Yeah.
It is such an explosive climax.
It really is. The Lightguards view the royal family, specifically King Theo's cruelty and Aryel's perceived weakness, as a fundamental threat to Ashera.
They believe the royals have lost the goddess's favor, and the only way to maintain the boundary against the Shadowlands is to establish an absolute theocracy.
So they lock the royal family and their loyalists inside the castle and literally set it ablaze.
It is a horrific escalation. They drop their holy masks entirely. They're willing to burn their own capital to the ground to, quote-unquote, purify it.
And in the midst of this chaos, Corinne is desperately trying to reach Aryel to save him. She runs through the smoke-filled halls, and who is standing there blocking her path?
Vera, her oldest, dearest friend from the monastery.
It's so heartbreaking. Vera has her blade drawn. She looks at Corinne, fully indoctrinated, completely devoid of the empathy they once shared, and calls her a defector.
And it gets worse. Right behind Vera, High Priestess Mother Creta literally holds a knife to Prince Aryel's throat.
It is the ultimate collision of her two worlds, the family she was forced into by trauma versus the family she actively chose through love.
Mother Creta doesn't just threaten Aryel physically. She attacks Corinne psychologically. She taunts her, trying to trigger her OCD, telling Corinne that she is a monster, that the violent power of her father is her only true legacy.
But the psychological hold is finally broken. To save Aryel and to save the friends who showed her unconditional love, Corinne has to do the one thing she's feared her entire life.
She stops repressing the darkness.
She taps into the forbidden volatile magic of her father. She summons literal fire.
She embraces the flame. She becomes Sunfire, stepping fully into the destructive potential she always feared.
But the thematic brilliance here is how Turner frames this destruction.
Oh, absolutely. Corinne realizes in this critical moment that power, even volatile burning fire, isn't inherently evil.
Right, it's a tool. It's morally neutral.
Exactly. The morality comes from the application. Her father used it recklessly and caused a tragedy.
Nay.
The Lightguards use their pure, holy light to oppress, torture, and execute people.
But Corinne chooses to use her terrifying fire to shield the people she loves from tyranny.
By embracing the flame, She completely obliterates the Lightguard's rigid black and white binary of pure light versus pure darkness.
She uses the fire to fight off her former sisters. She rescues Aryel from Creata's blade. They manage to escape the burning castle and rendezvous with Denai, Nick, and Ileana.
Having literally burned her bridges.
Yeah, quite literally. But the victory is incredibly short-lived. The coup is successful. The Lightguards have taken over the capital.
Corinne and her friends are now high-value fugitives in their own country, being actively hunted. There is nowhere safe to hide in Ashera.
Which leaves them with only one option. They have to run toward the very thing they have been conditioned their entire lives to fear, the boundary.
The escape sequence is incredibly tense. Denai's father, Counselor Toro, manages to slip them a secret map and a set of instructions before the castle falls.
Apparently, Toro has been secretly communicating with someone on the outside.
Yeah, so the group travels under the cover of night. They are exhausted, terrified, dodging Lightguard patrols across the countryside until they finally reach the absolute edge of their known world.
The visual description of the boundary here is stunning. It isn't just a physical wall, it is a humming magical weave.
This force field has been sustained by the continuous magic and the vows of generations of Lightguards. It is the literal and metaphorical manifestation of Ashera's isolation, built entirely on the fear of the unknown.
You look at a centuries-old magical construct like that, backed by the power of an entire religion, and you have to wonder how one exhausted, traumatized girl is supposed to break it.
Well, she doesn't break it with brute force alone. She breaks it by changing the fundamental frequency of the magic. She alters the intent.
She drops her pack, she walks right up to the humming energy of the boundary, she summons her fire, not the pure light, but the destructive flame.
And as she presses it into the magical weave, she does something amazing. She alters the sacred Lightguard creed.
Instead of reciting the traditional vow of blind obedience to the goddess, she speaks her own truth. Through this world I will atone. Wait, actually, the exact wording is so powerful. She uses the consuming nature of her fire to literally burn a hole through the centuries-old force field.
It is a profound act of unmaking. She is carrying the veil. She is violently dismantling the barrier between the carefully controlled lies she grew up in and the terrifying, uncontrollable truth of the outside world.
The physical toll is immense, but she holds the tear open just long enough. The group scrambles through the breach just as a patrol of Lightguards descends on them from behind.
And the moment they cross over, the boundary seals shut at their backs.
There is no going back. They are standing in the Shadowlands.
The place they were taught is completely devoid of light, crawling with monsters and dark magic.
And almost immediately, a figure steps out of the gloom. She is a Nightrender, wielding this strange, dark magic that looks like the glittering night sky. Her name is Rossi.
Every instinct Corinne has ever been taught screams that this woman is the ultimate enemy.
But the narrative delivers one final, massive subversion. Rossi doesn't attack them. She lowers her guard.
Because Rossi isn't a monster born of the darkness. She is an old friend of Denai's mother.
Wait, really? So she is a former Lightguard who defected years ago and found refuge on the other side?
Exactly. If a former Lightguard is out here living peacefully in the Shadowlands, it completely shatters the foundational mythology of Ashera.
Everything the citizens believe about the monsters in the dark is a fabricated lie designed to keep them terrified and compliant.
It forces you to reevaluate the entire concept of the world.
Let me ask you this then. If the light was actually an institution of violent oppression and psychological manipulation, does that mean the darkness of the Nightrenders is actually the sanctuary they've been looking for?
It's a brilliant inversion. When you pull all these threads together, Lightguard reveals itself to be so much more than a standard fantasy adventure.
Definitely.
It is a masterful exploration of how toxic systems operate, specifically how they prey on vulnerability. It gives us a brutally honest look at the hidden internal reality of OCD.
And it showcases the sheer, monumental courage it takes to unlearn everything you were taught to be true, to look at the system you were raised in and realize it's fundamentally broken.
It challenges you to think about internal compliance. The voices in your head telling you that you're a fraud, or that you aren't good enough, or that you need to be perfect to earn your place.
Right.
Those might not be your voices. They might just be your brain parroting the demands of the environment you're trapped in. Corinne's journey is a blueprint for identifying and challenging that toxic programming.
And challenging that programming is terrifying. We all have narratives we've accepted without question. Breaking free requires you to step into the unknown. It requires looking at the systems that demand your obedience, the institutions that benefit from your anxiety, and asking who they are truly serving.
It's about learning to trust your own intuition over the rigid rules handed down to you.
Which leaves you with a final thought to mull over long after you finish this story. Think about the boundaries operating in your own life, the absolute rules, the rigid lines you've been told you must never, ever cross. Look closely at who built those walls. Are those boundaries actually there to keep the monsters out? Or are they just there to keep you trapped inside?